Good evening and welcome to News Hour. I am Amra Gibai. Coming up in tonight's edition of News Hour, President Kuruma launches the Freetown Containers Terminal Extension Project at the Queen Elizabeth II Quay. Ministry of Trade and Industry provides over 4,000 notification codes for traders in markets. British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone Guy Warrington assures Sierra Leone Ports Authority of its government's support. And the President of Women in the Media Sierra Leone calls on female journalists to increase coverage on issues relating to the welfare of women and children. All these and more coming up within the next 45 minutes. Welcome back. The Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Ibrahim Mansaye, has said his ministry, in collaboration with the Sierra Leone Standards Bureau, has provided over 4,000 measure codes for traders in the markets. He made this statement during a day's forum with staff of the Sierra Leone Standards Bureau and other stakeholders as part of this year's World Standards Day celebration. Daphne Kimama Macaulay filed this report.
For this year is Standards Build Trust. The World Standards Day is sponsored annually by the International Organizations for Standardization and the International Electrotechnical Commission. These two entities develop international standards for the electrical and electronic industries in the world. The Sierra Leone Standards Bureau was formed in October 1946. Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry Ibrahim Mansaye said the standardization will help to promote cooperation and it is safer for all.
Consumers have rights to buy safe and reliable goods, to live and work in buildings that have safe electrical installations and to be protected from all kinds of hazards associated with product equipment and systems. Mr. Chairman, our ministry, in collaboration with the Sierra Leone Standards Bureau, has produced 40,000 standardized codes to facilitate the going metric in the general trade and commerce sector. In this regard, it is my singular honor to declare this workshop open.
In Sierra Leone, this year's celebration has seen the provision and introduction of 4,000 new standard measurement cups to be used by market women for measuring local commodities such as vegetable oil, rice, and palm oil, among others. These cups are in different measurements, which, according to the Executive Director of the Sierra Leone Standards Bureau, Engineer James Dumbuya, will make slight increase in prices.
Rise in price because people will tend to say, because they are saying that two of their cups they are using to give this half kilo. So they will intend to put them out, but government has to take control over these things. We have to have a stakeholders meeting. We extend and later can have a consensus. Then the Ministry of Trade and Industry will give the uniform price that will be used for us to use. We are just producing these cups, the standardized cups, and allow people to use so that this fraudulent activity will be minimized.
He said the use of the new cups will take effect next year, the reason why Standards Bureau has begun a sensitization process. The Executive Director also said that the day also presents the Sierra Leonean business community with an opportunity to demonstrate its commitment to the important role standards play in increasing Sierra Leone's competitiveness.
The British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone Guy Warrington has said they are ready to partner with the Sierra Leone Ports Authority to upgrade standards. He made this statement during his visit to the Queen Elizabeth II Quay. David Patrick Aruna Kamara filed this report.
Sierra Leone Ports Authority, Abu Bangura, their objective is to transform the port to transshipment port. He said the port is one of the largest deep ports along the Atlantic Ocean, but they are still building the infrastructure of the port to accommodate more ships coming into the country. Mr. Bangura said they have prioritized the container operation department to Bolori to control the entering of containers into the port. He informed the High Commissioner that they are working on a master plan for the country to have a port that meets all international standards.
As we sit here today, we started with privatization, and part of the reason is our head of state was a businessman all through his life. He was an executive. So when he came into government, that's what he brought with him, to run the country as a business. Hence, privatization. We've privatized our entire container operators, which is about 60% of our business, to Bolori Freetown Terminal. That is ongoing, and we can clearly say they've done a very good job, which is we. As we sit here today, the port of Freetown is always ranked number 1 or number 2 in terms of dwell time. That is a key indicator in the shipping business. The time a container is offloaded and the time it leaves the port. And that's part of the concession, the effectiveness.
The GM called on the High Commissioner to support them on capacity building and infrastructural development. Board Chairman Sierra Leone Port Authority Moses said the port has moved from an operational port to a landlord port.
Deputy General Manager, we have moved from an operational port to landlord port, and honestly, much is expected from us. And to tie into that, we need external links and external contacts like the one we're getting now. We are very much positive as an authority to create the links with sister ports. And to be honest with you, Mr. High Commissioner, I think we should be making those first touch or links with the ports in the UK.
The British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone, Guy Warrington, said his visit to the port was to maintain the relationship between the UK and Sierra Leone. He said Sierra Leone has done well in prioritizing the port and the electricity supply in the country.
And the only other thing I'd say is I am also very pleased that this is, that you are, involved in the business of privatization. I think privatization of things like ports and indeed other aspects such as, electricity is a good thing. Especially in a tight fiscal environment, because essentially the investment comes from overseas and in the physical infrastructure, and you allow people to make money, make reasonable amounts of money, but it is the way to grow the economy here. So I very much applaud your decision.
A conducted tour of the facility formed part of the visits.
The Integrated Geoinformation and Environmental Services has trained officials of ministries, departments and agencies on climate information in Sierra Leone. The training is also a support to communication and dialogue on early warnings and forecasting products for key players on environmental security. The training was organized at the Intergems Geo Innovation Center at Congo Cross. Mariama Denkekano has more.
According to reports from the National Environmental Protection Agency, which is responsible for climate change in the country, it is clear that the impact of climate change is on the increase. Flooding in Makeni, Bo, Kenema and Freetown in 2015 is evident. The change, which took place in the form of rainfalls, has terribly impacted the country's farming communities, which has resulted to the reduction in crop yields, loss of properties and further additional stress on the country's food security and livelihood programs. In a bid to combat these challenges faced by climate change, stakeholders in the environment sector have called on MDAs and their supporting partners to come up with an early warning and forecasting products and climate information in Sierra Leone. UNDP Deputy Project Coordinator Climate Information Joseph Kaindane said the training was based on nuclear security and that it should be close to the country's heart. Mr. Kaindane added that the project is divided into 6 phases, including its needs assessment. Phase 2 of the project, he said, is based on communication channels among MDAs and the Office of the National Security. Director of Meteorological Department Alpha Bokari, said the Climate Information Early Warning System project is one of the priorities that has identified during the country's National Adaptation Program of Action Assessment that followed Sierra Leone's initial national communication with the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The Meteorological Department, he said, played a central role during the compilation of the national communication, especially in the climate change scenario of the impact, vulnerability and adaptation component and that of the systemic assessment. Director, Disaster Management, Directorate Office of National Security, John Rogers, said the effects of climate change in Sierra Leone is visible, as during the last 30 years, the climate of West Africa, ranging from rainforests of Sierra Leone and Liberia to the Sahelian regions, have undergone various changes, especially in terms of rainfall. Deputy Minister of Transport and Aviation, Alhaji Muhammad Ali Jallo, said by the end of the year, after the completion of the development of communication, early warning and forecasting project for managing natural hazards in Sierra Leone, Sierra Leoneans, he said, will be able to benefit from real-time, including daily weather, forecast on radio, television, newspapers, mobile phones, and websites.
Wanted to note is that the government and people of Sierra Leone are extremely pleased for the 8 new automatic weather stations that have been installed in different parts of the country, supporting 2 staff of the Meteorology Department who have successfully completed their master's degrees in Meteorology and Management from the University of Reading in the United Kingdom, and have returned home, and also for building the capacity of 5 staff of the Ministry of Water Resources in operational watershed monitoring and hydrological modeling in Niger. We believe these great strides will go a long way in addressing the existing capacity issues for delivery of hydrometeorological services in Sierra Leone.
Managing Director, Integrated Geo-Information and Environmental Management Services, Julius Mater, said climate information is being minimal in the country. He said mechanisms should be put in place for risk assessment.
This is part of the project, which means we have to provide support to the Sierra Leone Meteorological Department, the Office for National Security specifically, the Disaster Management Department, the Environment Protection Agency of Sierra Leone, and the Ministry of Water Resources. Well, it's not something that has prompted me personally. Sierra Leone, we have a national development agenda, and we know some of the issues we have. It's not specific to indigents. This is a country issue. We are very aware of last year the flooding that took place in Sierra Leone in September 2015. Over 24,000 people were affected in Freetown, Banff, Pujon, Body Street, and Putloko. Of course, all our development partners, including the UNDP and the World Bank, specifically the UNDP who's sponsoring this sort of projects are being undertaken because climate change is becoming a reality, and is a reality. And of course, it goes without saying, the impact of climate change is global, but locally it's affecting people. This has prompted the development partners, the World Bank, including the government of Sierra Leone, especially via the ONS, which has the mandate to deal with disaster preparedness and response plan, to initiate such a project.
Mr. Matia said the early warning and forecasting product and climate information in Sierra Leone project will focus on 3 strategic areas: Bumbuna, Kenema, Dodo Hydro, and Guma Valley Water Comlin.
That report was filed in by Mariama Denke Kanu and Readiness Studios by Princess Gibson. The National Protected Area Authority has engaged community leaders around Lake Sonfong in the Diang Chiefdom Koinadogo district. The engagement is part of the authority's outreach activities to effectively execute their mandate to protect all forest reserves and parks by law. Ibrahim Samra takes up the story.
publicity engagement is to educate community leaders and their subjects on the importance of protecting Lake Somfron, a protected area in the Dian Chiefdom, Konadugu district. Lake Somfron is one of the 17 protected areas that are being managed by the National Protect Area Authority. The lake has a rich biodiversity and it provides habitation for various endangered species. It plays a significant role in the socio-economic lives of inhabitants in the surrounding villages, and it is part of the cultural heritage of the country. The lake also provides livelihood opportunities and a water source for the people of Pampana and Tama rivers. Dr. Kole Bangura is the Executive Director of the National Protected Area Authority. He told the community people that Lake Somfron is one of the protected areas managed by the National Protected Area Authority, saying that's why they hosted the meeting to educate them on the need to protect the lake. By law, Dr. Bangura told stakeholders the NPPA is charged with the responsibility to protect and conserve all national parks and forest reserves, describing Lake Somfron as an important lake hosting different endangered species. An indigene of Dian Chiefdom, Mohamed Toure, said 7 years back they launched a campaign called Protect Lake Somfron to educate people and mining communities on the need to protect Lake Somfron. He spoke of challenges in protecting the lake as there are still locals and some mining companies that are carrying out mining activities in the lake.
The president of Women in the Media, Sierra Leone WIMSAL, Tiana Alpha, has called on the media to provide increased coverage on issues relating to the welfare of children. She was speaking at a ceremony to mark the International Day of the Girl Child, a day set aside by the United Nations to take stock of the well-being of children, especially girls. Princess Gibson was at the symposium and she now reports.
The media in strengthening advocacy on ending child marriage and cycle of violence against girls. For Sierra Leone, some of the factors undermining the growth of children include early marriage, child trafficking, sexual violence, and child labor. However, very little media coverage is provided on children's issues, according to the president of WIMSAL, Tiana Alpha.
Some of us hold the view that so much attention is being given to politicians and politics, and less attention on the rights of women and children in our media coverage. And as members of the Fourth Estate, we must take cognizance of the fact that we play a critical role in our society to change the mindset of people, to ensure that girls have equal access to education as boys, to advocate strongly in putting an end to violence against girls.
She said Women in the Media Sierra Leone has a twofold mandate to seek the interest of female journalists and other women in society. They are also poised to serve as a platform to raise awareness on issues affecting women and children. Keynote speaker, Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Wugiatu Nene Toure, says government is committed to ending child marriage. She says even though there has been a decline in child marriage, the difference is still high, pointing out the challenge in the enforcement by the police and the judiciary. Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs used the forum to explain her position on harmful traditional practices.
Female genital mutilation is different from Bondo. Let's just make that difference clear. Bondo is being practiced only in Sierra Leone. FGM is practiced in over 28 countries, and it is being imported in America, in the UK, in Australia. Yes, but Bondo has not been imported to the UK. It is here. We need to protect Bondo, which is our culture. That is the place we meet as women to discuss important issues. FGM is known all over. In other countries, it's practiced by men. That is why it's no longer a secret.
A representative of Kids Radio Network said although there has been many interventions to address harmful traditional practices, it is still on the increase. She said perpetrators walk freely while the victims suffer in silence, and called on the media to serve as a pressure group to enhance the protection of children. Other speakers pledged their commitment towards the protection of girls. Some of the questions focused on the independence of the media, refusal of the family support units to provide information to the media on cases. Princess Gibson, SLBC News.
Parliament has ratified 4 agreements to the tune of over $100 million to improve electricity and effective health service delivery in the country. This will be achieved through integrated and coordinated systems and processes in the West African sub-region. Parliamentary correspondent Mahawa Aliyu reports.
That remove and recommend that the vote on proceeding for October 7 be adopted. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. The other.
The following agreements were ratified. A financing agreement under the first phase Regional Disease Surveillance System Enhancement Project between the Republic of Sierra Leone and the International Development Association. A financing agreement for health service delivery and system support project between the Republic of Sierra Leone and the International Development Association. The Ebola Recovery and Reconstruction Trust Fund grant between the Republic of Sierra Leone and the International Development Association. And the dollar credit line agreement between the government of the Republic of Sierra Leone and the Export-Import Bank of India. Presenting the loans prior to ratification, the Minister of State, Ministry of Finance, Momo Vandi, said that the first agreement amounting to $30 million, inclusive of $10 million grant, was aimed at putting in place an effective regional disease control and surveillance mechanism for humans and animals to tackle any form of epidemics. He said the second and third agreement aggregates to $15 million, including a grant of $5 million, is to improve and increase coverage on child-related service delivery, noting emergencies and effective community engagement. He said that the fourth agreement, amounting to $78 million, aimed at improving the electricity transmission lines from Bumbuna to Waterloo, cognizance of the regional transmission project with a view of generating and distributing effective and reliable service supply to the consumers. Members of Parliament on both sides of the House who spoke to the motion described the loan and grant as timely and non-controversial. They also called on the Ministry of Health and Sanitation through the Ministry of Finance to urgently consider and treat the issue of recruitment of trained and qualified nurses as an emergency. The MP said the nation should utilize trained nurses to support and improve service delivery in various medical facilities in the country, whilst noting the need for health incentives. They, however, described the absence of the minister and officials of the Ministry of Health and Sanitation and encouraged the Ministry of Finance to negotiate loans by harmonizing the interest rate and avoid excessive tax exemptions. SLBC News, Mahawa Aliyu.
The Ministry of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs has supported 50 Ebola survivors with over 30 million loans. It is a livelihood support under the Presidential Recovery Priority. Frances Ndanema has more.
Even though the Ebola disease is being defeated, thousands of survivors and orphans have been left behind by the virus. The President has also launched a recovery plan with the aim of regaining what the Ebola virus made the country lose economically. This money was given to beneficiaries to ensure they embark on businesses or solve problems that are affecting them. Addressing beneficiaries, the key results area lead post-Ebola recovery priorities, Ministry of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Sayomara, called on the beneficiaries to invest the money on viable businesses. He said the government is also supporting Ebola survivors to learn skills that will make them self-reliant.
Because that's the only way we make survive, we empower them. We make them feel very important. Now the monies we're giving, for instance, in those 7 districts, It's just to encourage them as a stipend.
Beneficiaries expressed joy for the support and promised to use it judiciously.
In observation of the International Day of the Girl Child, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has held a forum on women's awareness and empowerment. The theme for this year's International Day of the Girl Child is Girls Progress, Goals Progress. As part of the day, the Director General and Ambassador at Large launched the Foreign Service Women in Development. Hawanatu Kante takes up the story.
Women in Development is an initiative of the Minister of State 2 and the Gender Desk Office in the Ministry to empower and support women. The United Nations states that there are 1.1 billion girls full of talents and creativity. However, violence, discrimination, and the lack of equal opportunities serve to prevent the dreams and potentials of many of them. The International Day of the Girl Child is the United Nations call for action for increased investment in girls' education to be productive women and contribute to national development. Director General and Ambassador at Large, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Khadijatu Basir, reaffirmed their commitment as part of the global effort to ensure a world free of discrimination for women and girls. She emphasized the importance of social, economic, and political investment in girls as fundamental human solution to breaking the intergenerational transmission of poverty, violence, exclusion, and addressing unique challenges facing girls around the world.
I am indeed gratified and proud that our women of this noble ministry are also focusing on women's empowerment through our selfless efforts and willingness to make a positive difference. On that note too, I want to recognize the role of the First Lady. She's been very active in empowering women.
Ambassador Basir reminded them that they should not lose sight of the fact that girls in rural settings are disadvantaged and encourage them to be more vocal and focused on their approach to ensure equal opportunities for girls. Giving an overview of the Foreign Service Women in Development Group, one of the supervisors, Juliana Fala, said the group will give foreign service women the opportunity to develop themselves. She said the observance of the International Day of the Girl Child by the Foreign Service Women is dedicated to the campaign for the removal of all stereotyped traditional barriers to achieving equality for girls. Director of Protocol, Ricky McCarthy, said the observation of the International Day of the Girl Child started some 4 years ago to eradicate discrimination among girls. The roles of family, religion, societal, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and Co-Educational School on the Girl Child in Sierra Leone were discussed during plenary sessions. Hawanatu Kante reporting for SLBC TV.
If you're just joining us, you're watching news coming to you live from our New England studios in Freetown. President Ernest Bai Koroma has called on the World Bank to step up its intervention in providing the necessary support to the country's continued transformation drive in the energy sector. When the Executive Vice President of the Consolidated Engineering Company, Faisal Alami, paid him a courtesy call at State House. Razia Bashkamara has more.
Meanwhile, President Ernest Bai Koroma has called on the World Bank to step up its intervention in providing the necessary support to the country's continued transformation drive in the energy sector when the Executive Vice President of the Consolidated Engineering Group, Faisal Alami, paid him a courtesy call at State House. Presenting the Executive Vice President and delegation, the Minister of Energy, Ambassador Henry McCauley, said the company has expressed willingness to work with the incoming General Manager of EDSA for 3 years to turn around the energy sector in Sierra Leone. The minister informed the president that one of the components of the project is to improve the network in the western area. Briefing the president on the purpose of their visit, the Executive Vice President, Consolidated Engineering Company, who is the winner of the World Bank competitive bidding for the improvement of electricity distribution and supply authority EDSA networks in the Western area and its environs, said the project is not going to be the responsibility of the government alone. In that regard, he suggested that it be jointly executed and constantly monitored by both parties so that in case of any fallback on the part of the World Bank, they will be held responsible.
Applications that will assure good results. Safa will be the resident manager of the team and the Director General, and Bilal will be supervising and overseeing this project because he's the director, senior director in charge of the utility business in the company. And Dr. Adel was here with us to also probe into other opportunities in the water sector. He is the Vice President in charge of water sector.
Congratulating the company for winning the contract, President Nkrumah assured Mr. Alami and delegation of government's unwavering support, while hoping that the new partnership with the World Bank will make the country's energy sector more viable, effective and efficient. The president added that the energy could be used to generate economic activities in other sectors to attract foreign investment, and emphasized that the new partnership with the World Bank will enable the government to put in more resources into other sectors such as the social services. He made it clear that without effective energy in the country, there will be no transformation.
So it is a great moment for us. We have come this far. We expect results. You have been through an international bidding process. Thankfully, the World Bank is involved in it. So this time round, it will be a shared responsibility. And it's not going to be the responsibility of government alone. It will be a responsibility of the World Bank as well, and we'll hold them responsible for the outcome. So, but we don't want to, after 3 years, to find excuses. We want, after 3 years, to achieve the expected results. So that is our focus. And with that, we can provide you with the support that is required. I can assure you of that. And because it is a priority item for us, a priority sector, it is going to be monitored on a regular basis. And personally, I'll be involved in the monitoring process myself, so that together we can succeed and provide what Sierra Leone needs to transform herself to a middle-income country.
In another engagement, President Ernest Bai Koroma also joined the Thompson family to celebrate a funeral and communion service at the St. George's Cathedral, George Street, for the late Honorable Justice Canon Maitland Emmerich Toller Thompson, who died on the 26th of September at the age of 77.
As we stand here today to honor this great man, Justice Maitland Emmerich Toller Thompson Sr., my father, my friend, my mentor. I learned so much from him, and I am truly my father's son. Therefore, it will be easy to ask God why. But we worship an awesome and wonderful God, a God that maketh and a God that taketh away. We do not dispute when he maketh such a wonderful and great man. Therefore, it will be a sin. It will be sinful to question him why he taketh away. Rather, my family and I would like to be thankful to him. Thankful for allowing us to have known such a great and wonderful man. A man we all simply are better off for knowing. As mourning him, we also celebrate his life. And it was a good life, a fortunate life. Because if we're really honest with ourselves, if you're an ambitious person, you grow up and you wish for 3 fundamental things: a successful career, successful family, and a long life. And let's not forget, it is supposed to be 3 scores and 10, and he was 7 years above that, so he didn't do too bad. And he was granted all three of those things. So this was a good line. So as I pay our last respects to him, I will salute you. Your family salutes you. Your beloved Sierra Leone and the nation salutes you. So long, friend.
The Independent Police Complaints Board has officially opened its headquarters, launched its website, and the validation of focus group engagement reports. The ceremony took place at its headquarters, New Englandville in Freetown. The Independent Police Complaints Board is mandated to investigate complaints about potential police abuses. Daphne Kimamakwoli takes up the story. We apologize for that little technical itch. To end the news in points again. President Nkrumah has launched the Freetown Container Terminal Extension Project at the Queen Elizabeth II Quay. Ministry of Trade and Industry has provided over 4,000 metrification corps for traders in markets. British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone Guy Warrington has assured Sierra Leone Ports Authority of his government's support. And President of Women in the Media Sierra Leone has called on female journalists to increase coverage on issues relating to the welfare of women and children. Well, that's it for this hour's news. I broadcast live on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation in Freetown. On behalf of my news editor, Asmiva, I am Anne-Marie Gipai. For more information about our programs, do send us an email to contact us at slbc.sl. Thanks for watching. Pleasant good evening.
And welcome to Issues in the News. In the program, Special Advisor to President Dr. Joseph Samsisi has ended his 2-year term of office as Chairman of the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO Committee on Agriculture. The handing over ceremony was held during the 25th session of the FAO Committee in Rome, Italy. But what are some of his contributions As chairman of the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO Committee, in the studio is Dr. Joseph Samsisi. Welcome to Issues in the News.
Thank you very much, Abubakar.
Now, how was it like 2 years in office as chairman of the FAO Committee on Agriculture?
Well, first and foremost, they need to know what the work of that committee is. That is the Committee on Agriculture of the FAO. It is in fact the body, the technical body that advises the FAO on many issues pertaining to agriculture, whether it is food production or livestock or forestry or fisheries, or there are matters of policy, or there are matters pertaining to climate change. That's the key body that really advises the FAO on its work. In its various departments, in the regional offices, in the country offices. That's the job. And for me, I took over as chairman since 2014, during the height of the Ebola, when everybody was in a state of despair because of the Ebola, and I brought some smiles in the lips of Sierra Leoneans, where in a small country called Sierra Leone, in the turmoil of the Ebola, I succeeded to get that position, elected on my own merit and overwhelmingly by over 120 countries that constitute the FAO.
So how was it like?
Well, it was
your 2 years in office.
During the tenure of my office, it was, I would say, of course, it was challenging. That was my first time being chairman of that committee. But at the same time, we have a capable secretariat that mans the committee at the FAO headquarters that is very, very useful. I've been there on several occasions to hold meetings with the bureau members. Members of the bureau comprise representatives of the various regional groups, the Africa regional group, the Asian regional group, the Latin American, the Americas, the Europe, all of these, about 8 regional groups. They send one representative each of them to be a member of the bureau of the committee, and I was the chair. So we had what we call intersessional meetings. Those are meetings that you hold between the two sessions, the 24th FAO Committee on Agriculture session, in which I was elected chairperson, and then the pending 25th that ended last month. So between these two sessions, you have to have meetings to deliberate on issues that were approved during the previous session, to ensure that those issues are being implemented by the FAO, to determine how far, to monitor how far the implementation is going, as well as engage the regional groups on certain issues, emerging issues. In fact, certain countries will normally submit certain issues for you to discuss. They are of concern, they are of interest to them as they emerge in their respective countries. These were some of the issues. And finally, towards the end of my tenure, we had to plan the program for the holding of the 25th session that ended last month.
Now, during your days as chairman of this committee, so were you able to implement some of the strategies developed to enhance agricultural production?
Yes, in fact, as chairman, this is the first time I created an innovation in the FAO, in which I ensured that the decisions that were taken during the previous session in which I was elected were monitored and a report is produced. There was a work plan that FAO developed for the implementation of the conclusions, the decisions. And I ensure that they produce reports to determine the level of implementation of those decisions. They range from climate change to issues about livestock, about even the 2030 SDGs. We are also talking about financing agriculture. We are talking about antimicrobial issues. You know, so many issues that were on the table. We had to ensure that FAO took them on board in the implementation of their programs in the field.
Now, trickle it down to our own country and Sierra Leone. Many people believed that Sierra Leone is far from maintaining food self-sufficiency. So what's your take on that, especially you representing agriculture in that country?
Well, when you talk about self-sufficiency, it's a very broad term. You can be more specific, for example, about rice self-sufficiency. That is because, first and foremost, it is our staple food, and secondly, it is more specific and much easy to assess the level of attainment. Now, in terms of rice, we really produced there is an increase in production of rice compared to before this government came into being. And believe me, everybody knows that around the country you have rice available, local rice available. You can be talking about cost, which is a different issue altogether. In terms of food, generally, the FAO has a system in which they measure the level of accomplishment of reducing hunger in every country. And within the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, that ended in 2015, the FAO set a global target of reducing hunger by half. According to the FAO measure, by 2014, Sierra Leone had got 48% instead of 50%. 50% is half. So we merely escaped, or we merely missed getting a global award of having hunger by 2014.
So why did we miss that?
Well, you can imagine we were already in the height of Ebola, and that was very, very key. You know, access to some of the areas was a problem, distribution of inputs and extension services. Although we were very resilient in that Ministry of Agriculture, honestly. During the Ebola time, people can be our witness in the field, that we were about the only ministry that was going out to the field, to the farmers, to distribute support. To a point, donors wanted to stop providing funds because of the Ebola. They wanted to wait until after the Ebola. And so I made the case that unless you want to have another crisis after the health crisis, you want to have food crisis, you better provide the resources now so that we will be able to avert that situation.
And the resources being provided?
They were provided, yes. I mean, I recall we had resources from the IFAD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development. We had funds also from the International Development Bank. All the 2 or 3 projects were functional. And we also had other donor partners that came in. And even when we developed our new program after the smallholder commercialization program, we also had commitment from the EU, new funds that have, I think they have now landed in the Ministry for Implementation under the EU, the African Development Bank, and already the one under the Islamic Development Bank, like Linking Farmers, is very active now. A number of projects are functional at the time I was there.
Now, with all the funds that the ministry has received, so are we going to achieve food self-sufficiency? We are talking about rice here. Are we going to achieve this, or are we in the pipeline of achieving it?
Yes, we have done far more to the level of being, getting to being self-sufficient in rice. But one of the challenges that we have is the seepage. By seepage, I mean the amount of rice that crosses the borders to other countries.
You're talking about smuggling.
Smuggling. Smuggling is not just about petroleum products. Smuggling is also about agricultural items, including produce like rice. According to a survey that was undertaken only in Bamo-Lumo, about 5,000 of bags, 2,000 of gari, and about 2,000 of 5-gallon palm oil will leave Bamo-Lumo alone every month. Every month, going to neighboring countries, especially Guinea, where in fact our domestic rice is fetching a premium. It's more preferred than imported rice.
So what has been done to stop this problem?
Well, as action is being taken now, as you see, the police have become very vibrant. Also the customs. I mean, I think that may go a long way to halt smuggling. Smuggling has been with us for quite a while. It has been a problem. And what that means actually is that what we invest in benefits people outside the country through smuggling.
Finally, let's talk about the position. Now you've handed over the position to another person. So who is that person that you handed over this position to?
Well, this gentleman is from Europe at last, and he had contested 2 times with my predecessor and with my very self, and he was not successful. So what happened during my election time was for a compromise to be struck between the OECD, that is the European and the American countries, to say after this tenure, the tenure, my own tenure, please let us allow this gentleman during the 3rd time to now be the chairman.
So how will you help him?
Well, I'm away here. Through internet we can communicate. Through video telecommunication we can use the FAO facility to be able to communicate. We can use telephone system, and I think we are in touch. I admire the way I really ran the meeting. It was a pride for Africa. It was not just for Sierra Leone. And in fact, the FAO Director General has promised to come to Sierra Leone to visit and say thank you by early next year. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much. The program has been Issues in the News live on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation, and we spoke to the special advisor to the president, Dr. Joseph Sanusi. He has just ended his 2-year tenure of office as chairman of the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO Committee on Agriculture. On behalf of my producers, Judith Sana and Daphne Zanakoma, and the rest of the team, I am Abubakar Bangura in Freetown, and this is the SLBC. Keep watching.